The message came at midnight, flashing red on the screen in Park's small apartment on Earth. She had been sleeping, dreaming of her home village in the mountains, when the sharp beeping pulled her back to reality. She sat up in bed, rubbed her eyes, and looked at the screen. Emergency. Report to Galactic Diplomatic Corps Headquarters. Immediate. Sighed. She had been a diplomat for 12 years now. She had negotiated trade deals with insect species who communicated through smells. She had stopped border wars between empires that had been fighting for 1,000 years. She had learned 16 alien languages and visited more than 200 planets. But emergency calls at midnight still made her heart beat faster. She dressed quickly in her formal black uniform, tied her long dark hair into a neat bun, and took the transport pod to headquarters. The building was a tall tower of glass and metal in the center of New Seoul, the capital city of United Earth. Even at this late hour, lights burned in every window. Something big was happening. Director was waiting for her in the briefing room. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had been running the diplomatic corps for 30 years and had never seen him look so worried. "Sit down," he said. His voice was heavy. She sat across from him at the long table. On the wall behind him, a holographic map of the galaxy glowed softly. A section of space near the outer rim was highlighted in angry red. "The Empire has declared war," Director said. Felt her stomach drop. They were one of the most feared species in the known galaxy. They were reptiles, cold-blooded and cold-hearted. They stood 3 meters tall, covered in scales harder than steel. Their claws could cut through metal. Their teeth could crush bone. They had conquered 47 star systems in the last century, and they had never lost a war. "Who did they attack?" asked. "The Federation." Closed her eyes. They were the opposite of the in every way. They were small bird-like creatures, barely reaching up to a human's waist. They had soft feathers in beautiful colors, blue, green, gold. They were artists and poets and philosophers. They built floating cities of crystal and light. They had never fought a war in their entire history. "They have no military," said. "No weapons, no soldiers that will destroy them in days." "Hours," Director corrected. "The fleet is already at their border. High Commander himself is leading the attack. He has given the one choice: surrender everything or die." "And They have requested neutral mediation. They want us to negotiate peace." Understood now why she had been called. Earth was neutral in galactic politics. Humans had joined the interstellar community only 200 years ago, and they had carefully avoided taking sides in the endless conflicts between older species. This made human diplomats valuable. Both sides trusted them to be fair. But this was different. They did not want peace. They wanted conquest. They had never accepted a negotiated settlement in their entire history. Their high commander was famous for one thing above all else: he killed diplomats who wasted his time. "Director," said carefully, "they have executed the last 6 neutral mediators who tried to negotiate with them. 3 were burned alive. 2 were eaten. 1 was sent back to his in pieces." "I know. You want me to go anyway. You are the best we have. If anyone can find a way to stop this war, it is you." Looked at the map on the wall. The red zone was spreading. They were already moving their warships into position. Millions would die if she failed. An entire civilization of artists and dreamers would be erased from the galaxy. "I will go," she said, "but I want protection." Director nodded. "We will assign you a full security team, 20 soldiers, the best equipment." "No," shook her head. "I want 1 soldier, just 1, but I want to choose him myself." The director raised his eyebrows. "1 soldier against the entire military. If I bring an army, we'll see it as a threat. He will attack before I can speak. But 1 soldier, he will think I am weak. He will let me talk, and talking is all I need." "Who do you want?" Pulled up a file on her tablet and slid it across the table. The director looked at the photo, a young man with a plain face and gentle eyes. He looked like a teacher or an office worker. He did not look like a soldier at all. Sergeant said, Special Operations Division, 17 successful missions behind enemy lines, expert in hand-to-hand combat, alien anatomy, and tactical psychology. He speaks 9 languages and has never lost a fight. Director studied the file for a long moment. Then he looked up at, You think one man can protect you from the... Smiled, but her eyes were serious. Director, there is an old saying on Earth, do not wake a sleeping tiger. They think humans are soft and weak because we choose peace. They have never seen what happens when we choose war. She stood up and straightened her uniform. Sergeant will remind them. The transport ship was small and fast. It carried only 3 passengers, Sergeant and a named who served as the official representative of her people. Was terrified. Her blue feathers shook constantly, and her large golden eyes were wet with fear. She sat in the corner of the passenger cabin, making herself as small as possible. Every few minutes, she looked at the 2 humans and then looked away again, as if she could not believe what she was seeing. Where is your army? She finally asked. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Looked up from her diplomatic files. We do not have an army. But they have 10,000 warriors on their flagship alone. They have weapons that can destroy moons. They have High Commander who has killed more beings than stars in the sky. Feathers shook harder. And you bring 1 soldier. Smiled gently and pointed at who sat across from them. He was reading a book on his tablet, a collection of old Earth poetry. He looked completely relaxed, as if he was on vacation instead of flying toward almost certain death. This is Sergeant said. He is my protector. Stared at, he was not a large man. By human standards, he was average height and average build. He wore simple dark clothes with no armor. He carried no visible weapons, no gun, no knife, not even a stick. His face was calm and friendly. He looked like someone's kind older brother. I do not understand, whispered. My people are going to die and you bring this. I know it is hard to understand, said softly, but please trust me. Sergeant is exactly what we need. Looked up from his book and smiled at. It was a warm smile, the kind of smile that made people feel safe. Do not worry, little one, he said. His voice was gentle. Everything will be fine. Did not look convinced. She turned away and stared out the window at the blackness of space. 3 hours later, the transport ship arrived at the meeting point. The flagship hung in space like a metal mountain. It was 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor. Around it floated hundreds of smaller warships, each one large enough to destroy a city. Watch's reaction. This feathers went flat against her body, a sign of complete terror. That is just 1 fleet, said quietly. They have 40 more. The transport ship docked with the flagship. As the door opened, a wave of hot air rushed in. The like their ships warm, almost burning. It matched their cold blood. A squad of warriors waited in the docking bay. Each one stood 3 meters tall, their scales dark green and gray. Their eyes were yellow with black slits, like a snake's eyes. They wore heavy armor and carried plasma rifles that could burn through steel. The squad leader stepped forward. He was even larger than the others, with deep scars across his face. You are the human diplomat. His voice was like rocks grinding together. I am Ambassador Park, she replied calmly. This is my protector, Sergeant, and this is representative of the Federation. We are here to negotiate peace. The laughed. It was an ugly sound, harsh and mocking. Peace, the squad leader repeated. High Commander does not want peace. He wants blood, but he will see you anyway. He is curious about humans. He turned and walked away. The other warriors formed lines on either side, creating a path deeper into the ship. It was clear they expected the delegation to follow. Walked forward without hesitation. fell into step 2 paces behind her, his hands clasped loosely in front of him, followed last, trembling with every step. The inside of the flagship was dark and hot. The walls were made of black metal, decorated with the skulls of conquered species. Some skulls were small, like children's heads. Some were huge, bigger than a human body. All of them had been cleaned and polished until they shone in the dim light. Made a small sound of horror. She recognized some of those skulls. They belonged to species that had refused to surrender. The walk to the negotiation chamber took 15 minutes. During that time, they passed hundreds of warriors. Every single one stopped to stare at the small group. Some laughed. Some licked their teeth with long, forked tongues. Some simply stared with cold, hungry eyes. Noticed everything. He counted the warriors, 347 in the corridors alone. He noted the security doors, the weapon placements, the narrow points where the hallways became tight. His face remained calm and friendly, but his mind was working constantly, building a map, calculating distances, identifying threats. Finally, they reached a massive door made of solid metal. The squad leader pressed his clawed hand against a panel, and the door slid open. The negotiation chamber was huge. It could have held 1,000 people. But today, it held only 31 warriors standing along the walls and one massive figure sitting on a throne of bones at the far end. High Commander. He was the largest had ever seen, 4 meters tall, even while sitting. His scales were black as night, and his eyes burned like yellow fire. His claws were long enough to cut a human in half with one swing. When he saw the delegation enter, he smiled. His teeth were like daggers, row after row of them, designed for tearing flesh. "Welcome, humans," he said. His voice filled the entire chamber. "Welcome, little birds, come closer. Let me see what courage looks like before I crush it." Walked forward with her head held high. She did not slow down. She did not look at the warriors along the walls. She kept her eyes fixed on High Commander as if he were just another diplomat at a routine meeting. Followed her quiet as a shadow. His eyes moved slowly around the room, taking in every detail. 30 warriors, all armed, all watching. The chamber had 2 exits, the main door behind them and a smaller door behind the throne. The ceiling was high, about 15 meters. The floor was smooth metal, good for fast movement. Came last. She could barely walk. Her legs shook so badly that she stumbled twice. The warriors laughed at her fear, their harsh voices echoing off the metal walls. When they reached the center of the room, stopped. She was about 20 meters from his throne, close enough to talk, far enough to show respect. "High Commander," she said clearly, "I am Ambassador Park of the United Earth Alliance. I have come to negotiate a peaceful end to this conflict." Leaned forward on his throne. The bones beneath him creaked and cracked. Up close, could see that the throne was made from the skeletons of many different species, all welded together into a seat of death. "Peaceful," repeated. The word sounded strange coming from his mouth, like he had never said it before. Humans talk about peace a lot. It is interesting. Most species beg. They cry. They promise anything to make us stop. But humans talk about peace as if they believe it is possible. "It is possible," replied. "There is always another way." Laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that shook the air. "You are brave, little human, or stupid. I cannot tell which." He waved one massive clawed hand at the warriors around the room. "Look at my soldiers. Each one has killed hundreds. Each one dreams of killing more. They did not come here for peace. They came here for blood." Whimpered softly. She wrapped her wings around herself, trying to disappear. "And they," continued, his yellow eyes turning to, "such pretty little birds. Do you know what we do with pretty things? We break them. We pull off their feathers one by one. We listen to them sing their last songs." Collapsed to her knees. She was crying now, tears running down her small face. "Enough," said firmly. The chamber went silent. Even the warriors stopped moving. No one talked to High Commander like that. His eyes narrowed. What did you say? I said enough. His voice was steady. You want to frighten us, I understand. Fear is a weapon and you use it well, but we did not come here to be frightened. We came here to talk. For a long moment stared at her. Then he smiled again, showing all his terrible teeth. Very well, human, let us talk. He sat back on his throne. Here are my terms. The Federation will surrender completely. All their worlds will become territory. All their people will become property. They will work in our mines. They will serve in our households. They will do whatever we tell them or they will die. Those are my terms. Those terms are not acceptable, said. I did not ask if they were acceptable. I told you what they are. Then let me offer different terms. Pulled out a small tablet and read from it. The Federation will remain independent. The Empire will withdraw all forces from space. In exchange, they will establish trade agreements with the Empire, providing art, technology, and cultural exchange. Both sides will benefit. Both sides will prosper. Was quiet for a moment. Then he started to laugh. It began as a low chuckle and grew into a roar that filled the entire chamber. The warriors along the walls joined in, their harsh laughter bouncing off the metal walls. Trade agreements, said when he could speak again. Cultural exchange. You think I came here to trade? I came here to conquer. That is what they do. We take what we want. We crush anyone who stands in our way. We do not negotiate. We do not compromise. We win. And if we refuse your terms? Leaned forward. His massive head descended toward until she could feel his hot breath on her face. It smelled like rotting meat. Then my warriors will tear your protector apart piece by piece while you watch. Then they will do the same to you. Then they will take the little bird and make her wish she had never been born. And then we will destroy the Federation anyway, and everyone will learn what happens to those who waste the High Commander's time. He raised one clawed hand high in the air. Last chance, human. Accept my terms or die. Looked at the massive claw hanging above her. She looked at the 30 warriors ready to charge. She looked at crying on the floor and's burning yellow eyes. Then she took a deep breath and spoke clearly. The Federation is under the protection of the United Earth Alliance. Any attack on their representatives is an attack on humanity. We do not accept your terms. His eyes widened. For 1 second, surprise crossed his face. Then it was gone, replaced by rage. Kill them, he said. His hand came down. 30 warriors charged forward, claws out, teeth bared, ready to tear the humans apart. Moved. The first warrior reached in half a second. It was huge, 3 meters of muscle and scales and fury. Its claws were out, aimed at its throat, moving fast enough to cut through steel. Stepped to the side. It was a small movement, almost lazy. The warrior's claws missed him by centimeters. Before the creature could react, grabbed its arm and twisted. There was a loud crack. The warrior screamed and fell, its arm bent the wrong way. The second warrior came from behind, did not even look. He dropped low, spun on one foot and drove his elbow into the warrior's knee. The joint shattered. The warrior collapsed, howling in pain. 3 more charged at once, moved between them like water flowing around rocks. He did not punch. He did not kick. He guided. He redirected. He used their own strength against them. One warrior swung at him and ended up hitting another warrior in the face. 2 warriors tried to grab him and crashed into each other when he slipped away at the last moment. Stood completely still. She had seen training videos. She knew what he was capable of. But seeing it in person was different. It was like watching a dance, a beautiful, terrible dance of destruction. They were strong, they were fast. They were trained killers who had conquered worlds, but they had never faced anything like. Humans evolved on Earth, a planet that tried to kill them every single day. They survived ice ages that froze half the world. They survived predators with teeth and claws bigger than warriors. They survived plagues that killed millions. They survived wars against each other, endless wars, wars that taught them every way to hurt and destroy. And they learned. They learned that size did not matter as much as speed. They learned that strength did not matter as much as technique. They learned the weak points of every body, where bones could be broken, where muscles could be torn, where nerves could be pressed to cause unimaginable pain. Knew exactly where to strike a. Human intelligence agencies had studied them for decades. They knew that the elbow joint was weak. They knew that the scales on the throat were thinner than the scales on the chest. They knew that pressing hard on the spot behind the jaw would cause temporary paralysis. 10 warriors were down in the first 30 seconds. The others hesitated. They had charged in expecting an easy kill. Now they were looking at their brothers lying on the ground, screaming and broken, and the human was still standing. He was not even breathing hard. "Come on," said quietly. "I am waiting." They came. They came with rage and fear and desperation. They came swinging their claws and snapping their teeth. They came from all directions at once, thinking that numbers would win. Numbers did not help. Was everywhere and nowhere. He moved through the chaos like a ghost. Every time a claw came close to him, he was already gone. Every time a warrior thought they had him trapped, they found themselves on the ground instead. He broke arms. He shattered knees. He pressed nerve points that made warriors drop their weapons and collapse. He never used more force than necessary. He never killed. He simply removed each threat one by one with cold efficiency. Had stopped crying. She was staring with her beak hanging open. Her golden eyes were huge. She had never seen anything like this. No species had ever seen anything like this. 1 minute passed. 20 warriors were down. The remaining 10 formed a circle around. They were scared now. Their yellow eyes were wide. Some of them were shaking. "What are you?" one of them whispered. Smiled. It was still a warm smile, a friendly smile. That made it even more terrifying. "I am human," he said simply. He attacked. The circle lasted exactly 30 seconds, tore through it like wind through paper. He was faster than they could track, more precise than they could believe. Each movement was perfect. Each strike found its target. When it was over, 28 warriors lay on the floor. They were alive. They were conscious. But none of them could stand. None of them could fight. Only 2 warriors remained, the personal guard standing in front of his throne. They held their weapons with trembling hands. Walked toward them slowly. He was not rushing. He did not need to rush. "High Commander," he said, his voice still calm and gentle. "Your warriors are brave, they fought well, but courage does not matter against humans." He stopped a few meters from the guards. Behind him, the floor was covered with groaning bodies. "We evolved on a death world," continued. "A planet filled with disease and disaster and predators. Everything wanted to kill us, so we became better at killing than anything else in the universe." The guards looked at their high commander, hopping for orders, said nothing. He was staring at with an expression no one had ever seen on his face before. "Fear. We hunted animals bigger than you for food," said. "We fought wars against each other for thousands of years. We invented 100 different ways to cause pain and death. And then, when we had perfected the art of destruction, we chose to stop. We chose peace." He took one more step forward. "But we never forgot how to fight. We never lost the ability to destroy. We just keep it hidden, locked away, waiting for the moment when someone threatens the people we protect." His eyes met thighs. "You have 30 seconds to accept Ambassador Park's terms, or I will show you what a human can really do when he stops being polite." The chamber was silent. The only sounds were the groans of the fallen warriors and the harsh breathing of the 2 guards. Looked at the destruction around him. 30 of his finest warriors, beaten by a single soft-skinned creature in less than 3 minutes. 29 seconds. 28. 27. High Commander had conquered 47 star systems. He had led armies of millions. He had crushed rebellions, burned cities, and destroyed entire civilizations. In his long life, he had never known fear. He had never felt doubt. He had always been the strongest, the most powerful, the most terrifying being in any room. Until now. He looked at the human standing before him, a small creature, soft and fragile-looking, without claws or scales or armor. And yet this small creature had done something impossible. He had defeated 30 elite warriors without taking a single wound. He had done it in less time than it took to eat breakfast. The two guards in front of the throne were shaking so badly that their armor was rattling. They knew they were next. They knew they could not win. 15 seconds, said calmly. His claws dug into the bones of his throne. His pride screamed at him to fight, to attack, to show this human what strength could do. But his mind, his cold, calculating mind, told him the truth. He would lose. If one human could do this, what could 100 humans do? 1,000? What could an entire species of these soft-skinned monsters do if they decided to make war? They had conquered many species. They had always won because they were stronger, faster, more brutal. But humans were different. Humans were not stronger or faster. They were something worse. They were efficient. They were precise. They turned weakness into strength and size into a disadvantage. 10 seconds, said. Thought about his empire. 47 star systems. Billions of citizens. All of it could be destroyed if the humans decided to attack. All of it could burn because of one bad decision in this room. He was a conqueror, but he was not stupid. Stop, said. His voice was quiet. It was the first time in his life that he had spoken quietly. Stop counting, he waited. I forced the words out. Each one felt like swallowing glass. I accept your terms. Stepped forward. Her face showed no surprise, no satisfaction, nothing. She was pure professionalism. Excellent, she said. The Federation will remain independent. All forces will withdraw from their space within 7 days. Trade agreements will be established according to the standard protocols. Both sides will respect each other's borders. She pulled out her diplomatic tablet and walked toward the throne. The two guards moved aside without being told. They were too scared to do anything else. Please sign here, said, holding the tablet up to, and here and here. The High Commander's massive clawed hand trembled as he pressed his mark on each document. His yellow eyes never left, who stood watching with that same gentle smile. The Galactic Council will receive copies of this agreement, continued. Any violation will be considered an act of war against the United Earth Alliance. Do you understand? I understand, said through gritted teeth. Then we are finished. Turned and walked back toward and, thank you for your cooperation, High Commander. I hope this is the beginning of a peaceful relationship between our peoples. She did not wait for a response. She simply walked toward the door, falling into step behind her, scrambled to her feet and hurried after them, still unable to believe what she had just witnessed. As they reached the door, spoke one last time. Human. Stopped and looked back over his shoulder. What are you truly? Asked. What kind of species fights like that? Thought for a moment, then he answered. We are survivors, High Commander. We survived everything our planet threw at us. We survived ourselves, and now we help others survive. He paused. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to conquer. We just want everyone to get along. And if they refuse to get along? Smile faded. For just a second, saw something in the human's eyes, something cold, something ancient, something that had killed predators and built empires and survived 1,000 wars. Then we make them, said simply. He turned and walked out the door. The journey back to the transport ship was silent. The warriors in the corridors pressed themselves against the walls as the delegation passed. They had heard what happened in the negotiation chamber. They had heard about the human who broke 30 of their best fighters like they were children. When they finally boarded their ship and left the flagship behind, finally spoke. Ambassador Park, she said softly, I do not understand. Humans are so small, so gentle. Why do you not rule the galaxy? With power like that, you could conquer anyone." Looked out the window at the stars. "Because we already learned that lesson," she said. "We spent thousands of years conquering each other. We fought endless wars. We destroyed cities, killed millions, burned our own world almost beyond repair. And in the end, we learned that conquest brings nothing but more pain." She turned to face. "Power is not about what you can destroy. Power is about what you can build. They understood that from the beginning. You build beautiful things, create art, write poetry. You make the galaxy better just by existing. That is true power." "But, Sergeant, is what we keep in reserve," said. "A reminder that peace is a choice, not a weakness. We choose not to fight, but we never forget how." Later, when the delegation returned to space, they found the fleet already pulling back. High Commander had given the order himself. The war was over before it truly began. And throughout the galaxy, a message spread from ship to ship, from station to station, from world to world. A warning. Do not attack the humans. Do not threaten their friends. Do not make them angry. They are small, they are soft. They smile and talk about peace. But when peace fails, they become something else entirely. They become the most terrifying species in the galaxy.